unfold.
That's right. And speaking of unfolding in the top right here, ready to unfold the plan to get it done for this man. From Mind Freak, our Red Terran from Australia, this is Seither.
And his opponent in the bottom left-hand side of the map, the Blue Protoss, hailing from the UK and Pakistan. This is TeebuL.
Represented by Psystorm. And of course, another great sponsor that we have to sponsor and shout out here is, of course, Shopify. You guys know them, you love them. Those are the people that have been really fattening the prize purse here of the EPT, doubling the weeklies for every single region. Every single region's weekly has been doubled. The WCS Signature Series, which is now, I guess, the EPT Signature Series or regional equivalent, is on the way. And all sorts. They are, of course, also behind the Shopify rebellions, as you would imagine, with the company being called Shopify and all. Brand new team. They've been heavily invested behind TSL. The whole reason that TSL's come back, doubling the prize pool of Home Story Cup 20. The list goes on. We are worms in front of our Shopify overlords.
Yeah, I mean, if they asked, I would do the worm on camera.
I would do the worm. I haven't done the worm since high school. I will do it right now if Shopify asked me to.
Yeah, and we're not young lads anymore. We'd probably look pretty silly doing that.
We would look silly and probably hurt ourselves. I mean, we're at that age where if you sleep badly, we can be out for the day because our neck hurts.
Dude, that's happened too many times recently. Don't even talk about that.
Yeah. You know, I actually had a kitchen mishap where now I got a slash across one of my fingers. Had to go get it closed at the doctor, and then I got a tetanus shot. And that tetanus shot, man, I feel like someone really big just punched me in the arm. It reminds me of high school. Speaking of high school, it feels like someone just smacked me in the shoulder, dude. I didn't realize the tetanus shot was a whammy.
Well, good to know you won't be getting any rabies at least, but
I may still froth at the mouth if the StarCraft gets really exciting.
So this is going to be a pretty quick command center on the natural here, but he's skipping the bunker is Seither, and that's interesting. So it's just going to be relying on the Marines on a map with no ramp. Now, luckily for him, it doesn't look like there's going to be like a quick Stalker rallying behind this or anything, because we do sometimes see, Adept, Stalker, this sort of stuff just pick away and chip away. And one of the things I actually was talking about yesterday is that Seither often found himself behind in the early game against Probe. And I wanted to see him be a little bit greedier, and I wasn't sure how. I was like, do something different. Well, skipping the bunker is pretty damn worth. Losing a little bit of mining time, it's not a big deal, especially if you can catch this Adept.
Yeah, that would be a lovely catch. And that's the whole reason why he's opening with the multiple Marines here, and he's got it. Tagged and bagged. She takes one Marine with her, but that is a good trade for Seither.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And skipping the bunker with the 3 racks means you get those extra barracks up even earlier. Now, there's a Reaper queuing up that could be for scouting for Seither, but we're not 100% sure. It could be a misclick as well. It's kind of odd to build it so late in the game. Normally, you'd just send an SCV or a Marine. Scouting's going to be important because our observers just pointed out this is a really quick charge opening without even having a robo.
Interesting. Yeah, no, I mean, if you're going to go for a big charge lot attack in PvT, it's already... not a super popular build, but it can work. But yeah, without a robo means no prism.
Is that okay, I was like, is that a prism coming across the map? It seems kind of fast. No, it's a hallucinated oracle. Yeah, this is really weird because definitely fast charge to defend a quick third can be good. But I'm not really sure what TeebuL's plan is right now because he doesn't have that many gateways. And yeah, he's just going to drop a quick third. Okay, all right. Wow.
Interesting.
This is super creative. So, I mean, Charge Zealots can deal with a 3 racks, but the thing is, Bio in big numbers does pretty damn well versus Zealots. So I'm a little worried that TeebuL, if he's short just a little bit on the numbers, Seither will do some nice stutter step, and TeebuL will have a bad time.
We'll have the baddest of times. I mean, you're quite right, and that charge is quite decent at holding those early game Terran pushes. But if you're going 3 racks and you've got like a 90% Marine ratio, you can kind of cut through Zealots with like a hot knife through butter, I feel like. That's the whole dynamic of the Marine Marauder. The Marauders are pretty heavily countered by the charge lot, but Marines in big numbers, it kind of goes the other way. The Zealots kind of melt.
Yeah, if you can get a big enough ball, and especially if you can maneuver, if you can stutter step, right? Like Zealots, if they can completely surround or force field you off, they're great. How often does that happen against a guy as good as Seither? They're slippery. Those are butted up, those Marines and Marauders, and there's a good chance they can get out of there. Now, sentries, of course, if they're covering this choke point, they could just take a crushing first engagement. Seither does not know what he's up against. This is such a bizarre change up from TeebuL in terms of what he's doing. He does get up the ramp safely. Shield battery's not quite done.
Oh, yep. Stim is up, though. Oh, the sentries are actually going to help quite a bit here. That Guardian Shield, of course, removing a damage point from each one of these Marine shots. So the Zealots actually leaving the bubble are getting cut into there by the Marines, and as they die, you know, the Stalkers and the Sentries become easy pickoffs, but another warp in there for those 3 gateways as the Zealots come in and push Seither back, and this timing, I feel like has been mostly held as Seither's lost a lot of hit points on those double-stimmed bio balls.
Yeah, he's going to have to head home, but, you know, save the units, so it's okay. As long as you keep him alive, it's not too bad. And you know you're up against the fast charge style, which is interesting. Interesting micro note from TeebuL. TeebuL manually targeted his Zealots on the Marine at the back of the pack so that they charge to it. I've never noticed someone doing that before. Maybe this is just me being out of the loop with the latest kind of meta in terms of the micro, but it meant because the bio was kind of, you know, stuttering back and slipping away, rather than the Zealots just charging all on one Marine at the front and it like dying and then the bio's already away, he was kind of charging to the back of the bio ball so that the Zealot, even after killing that Marine, was able to kind of already be on top of everything else. So just a cute little detail. TeebuL, he's got that real eye for those little adjustments that add a lot of value to his army.
Yeah, and it looks like he's going to be going very gateway focused here. So yes, he does have a robo, but a ton of gateways getting dropped. Forge is getting hit there, Blink as well as the Templar Archive. So it looks like he's been going for the Templar tech with a lot of charge lots on the back end. So that's going to be his well, actually more like a front end, rather, his front line of Zealots with a back line of Spellcasters, or the Archons, the High Templar, that sort of thing. Seither is hitting a pretty nice timing, though. +1's just done, and he has a much bigger army than TeebuL. So while TeebuL's army will be stronger later, right now, not so much.
Yeah, it's all about the force fields. I mean, Blink is coming in, there's upgrades slowly coming in, so the upgrades are on par, but there's really not many ranged units here. I mean, Zealots are very much for one big stompy engagement. I don't know if they can handle this amount of bio.
Force field's all right there at the front line. They do get rid of a couple of Marauders, but the Ball of Marines is still pretty large and healthy, and that's a problem here for this army composition of TeebuL. Zealots coming in again. Another Carter pack at the front there from those force fields. Medevac coming in to assist, realizing he doesn't actually need to pull them back, but he is going to disengage. Seither seeing the High Templar, thinking that, hey, maybe we should take a bit of a breather here, pull back. We don't know if those things are you know, how many Archons we're going to have to deal with next time we show up. TeebuL just out of vision of Seither with no wall in the naturals. Looks like he's going to send charge lots in.
Yeah, Seither does have a tendency to take massive damage to Zealot run-bys. It was his undoing yesterday in his games against Probe, and once again, this is a well-timed Zealot attack from TeebuL, I think, studying those games from yesterday and trying to take advantage of the same weakness. However, this time, Seither's rally point is actually there, so he's not...
All right, well, the Seither's army attacking into this third Nexus right now, and the Natural looks like he's lost 4 SCVs, but the Zealots have mostly been cut apart there from Seither's reinforcements. Third base actually being evacuated from Seither at the other side, but on this side of the map, the third Nexus is dead.
This is actually huge for Seither right now, and yeah, this Zealot run-bys are really what he needs to do something to pull him away. Storm's going to be the comeback mechanic that TeebuL focuses on. Is that going to be enough, though? It's going to be rough.
Yeah, Storm, a big deal. Obviously, Seither doesn't have ghosts, so dealing with Storm without ghosts is pretty tough, but if you've got a big enough army and, you know, decent enough control, maybe the Protoss whiffs a Storm or two, you can just snowball through and just stem through that army. The DPS on that bio ball is so massive. Stem very quickly there from Seither. Only on a handful of bio units, though, and the Zealots should win this fight. Reinforcements coming in for the Natural to try and keep the bay or stymie the flow of Zealots coming in. Now he's got to worry more about this attack on the front. Archon's on the front line there. He's got Storms on 3 High Templar.
That's such a big fireball, though. Oh, juicy Storms. I mean, Seither saw the High Templar, but he just disrespected them, and I think it's with good reason. He knows he's got the numbers, and he can fight right here, right now, smashing through this army, and that third base is going to go down for a second time.
Yeah, it certainly is, and that means that TeebuL's honestly running out of steam here as Seither takes a 60 supply lead, and there we go, GG. Actually, even more like 70 supply lead at that point. It was even closer. A massive moment there for Seither, capitalizing into a victory within seconds. And yeah, I mean, a pretty smooth game one there from Seither. Very few mistakes. And even adjusting from yesterday, like you mentioned, those charge lot attacks have historically hurt him so many times. And I've casted so many times where I've seen a Prism go into the main where Seither's winning the game until the Prism shows up. Then he's not. But that game, he had his reinforcements waiting at home. He kind of foresaw that he had a Natural wide open. And that's something that TeebuL and most Protosses like to do against Terran. And he deflected it quite well.
Indeed. I wonder as well about the follow-up, because in this scenario, I actually think it's so awkward as TeebuL. I think this hold was, it was quite reasonable because he did get a very nice worker advantage. But the problem here for TeebuL was the next step, or should I say the lack of a next step. Because he went for Blink after this moment, and that's nice. That can help control drops. But where's your splash damage? Well, he didn't really have any in mind. So this is a bit after he'd already burnt like 15 force fields and a ton of units trying to just survive. And the Zealots weren't able to engage. I think he needed to, if he was going to use this sort of army, he needed more sentries and more stalkers committed to earlier, just so that he could actually hold the choke points using force fields a little bit better. But he kind of ended up with a few too many Zealots in his defensive army, and without any splash damage coming in to back that up, we saw that he just overstepped on his economy. If he was going to be using such a low-tier army, I think he needed to stay lower worker count, bigger army size, and really be able to clash with Seither in the middle of the map.
I mean, the charge lot opening, I guess, for TeebuL there to decide I'm going to take a third, but I'm going to defend with charge lots rather than going for some kind of all-in or something like that is pretty off meta and definitely something creative. And I could see working. On paper it makes sense, but there's a reason why Protoss is sometimes even going towards Robo Bay before taking a third, because they just want to have a consistent splash damage answer, a consistent splash damage response to Terrans who are 99% of the time going to go bio against you, and very marine heavy in that regard. So the Colossus is just so important. It's the reason why almost every Protoss that wants to just take a third and defend is going to have at least a couple of those laser giraffes in the back line ready to assist in that regard. The pure gateway force, obviously it can work. A lot of Protosses play that pure gateway style and do very well with it. Does usually start with Blink though, and does usually go into Zealots and Sentries and that sort of thing later, of course. So it's a new style that maybe TeebuL can iron out a bit more and have a bit more success with.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just I don't mind it. I love these sort of creative styles, but there's 3 racks into 5 barracks before 3rd command center. I mean, Seither was massively committed to doing damage, and it's just like that is more bio than you've ever seen. This is not the same as those Widowmine drop openings where the bio, it grows pretty big. This is like more bio than you've ever seen, and if you really want to think about it, you just got to hard counter your opponent's composition at some point. Force field's a fantastic medium term, but wasn't enough for him to hang on there.
Yeah, no reason to stop making bio units if you haven't really got a splash damage thing to worry about. And so that is it for game 1, guys. We'll take a short break. When we return, though, Seither versus TeebuL, game 2. Don't go away. We'll see you then. G'day, StarCraft fans. Welcome back to the DreamHack Masters Fall Edition Oceanic Rest of Asia. I am Maynard. With me is Pig, and you are watching Seither and TeebuL, and I don't know why I'm yelling. I'm just excited.
I like it when you yell, Maynard. We're just bringing a little dose of the Australian pub here to the international audience. Just having a good time, speaking clearly in our nice, easy to understand vernacular.
I reckon Australians speak better than every other species of people. Is it a species? That's not the right word. I meant culture. Excellent. Maynard is my favorite commentator. He's my favorite commentator. When he yells, I think yes, and when he doesn't, I think no. Anyway.
Well, you know what? Keep that up, Maynard. For once, there'll be a broadcast where people aren't mistaking you for the Muslim. So, you know, that'll be a nice change.
Right when I was drinking. Excellent. Yeah, no, we're of course mid-series here. See, they're currently 1-0 up on TeebuL, and that's obviously a fantastic start for him, but we got more maps ahead of us yet. This is a best of 5, and ooh, SCV pretty fast across the map here in the bottom left for this gentleman from Mime Freak, the Red Terran. This is Seither.
And in the bottom right-hand side, representing Slystorm Gaming, it's TeebuL.
Yeah. TeebuL's one of those many StarCraft players that's really sweet and soft-spoken, like, in person. But in the game, he's a monster. And he just seems to have, like, a relatively troll way of playing. You know, a little bit more aggressive, a little cheesy, a little underhanded. But a complete sweetheart in person. Actually, quite similar to me and Maiko, I think.
Yeah, you know, you always think they're going to be a little bit like, you know, more evil.
Yeah.
Play,
yeah,
but,
smiling assassin, you know.
No, I mean, there's an art form to find the path of least resistance, and I think TeebuL's great at doing that. Now, he's going to come in and scout this double gas opening. He's checking if the barracks is anywhere nearby inside the main base, but it is, of course, just below the jumping pad. And I do like the change up from Seither. I think, you know, the 3 racks he's been using a lot recently, but you can't just be doing that game after game. Your opponents are going to get really good at shutting it down. The 3 racks is a fantastic build order. People always say, oh, it's not good. It's not good if you do it every game and your opponent knows you do it every game. But if you hide it, it's a great one to mix in. Now, this is a much more aggressive start with the factory at home behind it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's just a Widow Mine drop afterwards, but it's going to be one Reaper popping up into the high ground. Don't see a Zealot out, so definitely a chance to kill a few probes.
Yeah, certainly. No defensive units at all whatsoever. It's just probes versus Reaper right now, and the Reaper definitely wants that engagement. Good control on the probes so far for TeebuL. He hasn't lost anything just yet. There we go, the target fire on that hurt one. That was one shot earlier. Stalker seconds from popping here. I think he'd be happy with 3 probe kills of that Reaper if he can keep it alive. Doesn't quite get that third one, though.
Yeah, really good micro and usage of the wall by TeebuL, so you couldn't really risk chasing in and going after them as the Reaper because it will get surrounded. So he builds 2 Reapers and looks like he'll stop there and float the barracks home, which is good. I do a little bit upset. I sometimes shout at the screen when my favorite Terran players build a 3rd or 4th Reaper and 2 or 3 Hellions and they just try to like run them in. The Protoss has shield batteries, and
yeah,
it's like, well, yeah, that's kind of predictable.
Shield batteries and like 2 Stalkers, and then Terran's like, oh, I invested like a whole command center into this.
Yeah, I much prefer this version of it. It was just 2 Reapers, have a poke, see what they can get, survive, and just get in the expansion behind it. Now, the expansion is on the high ground for Seither. He's going to hunt that probe down.
Good catch.
Oh, that's
good catch.
Awesome.
Yeah. I already sort of caught that TeebuL wanted a fast pile on the other side of the map there. Maybe we're going to put on some gateway pressure. At least that was the intention. And now Seither's going to have his guard up. His defense is in play now. Obviously, he is going to still send the medevac across the map with the Widow Mines, but, you know, it can be a little bit more conservative back at home with everything else.
TeebuL going for Blink and a second gateway so far. Hasn't decided to wall off the front of the base at all. Does have some probes down there exposed, and the 2 Reapers and the Hellion will come on in. And those probes very exposed right now. 1 Stalker doesn't really have that much damage, and look at that. The red hit point Reaper runs to the right side. Great micro by Seither. Keeps him alive as long as possible.
Yeah, and that Hellion's got one more shot on it. No, it's finished. There we go. But 4 probes and a fair bit of denied mining time. Not too bad for Seither, considering those units don't have a ton of longevity anyway. You don't really want to have, you know, that one Hellion and Reapers just sort of hanging out. Might as well dive and see what you can get done. And he's not done just yet, of course. The medevac with the 2 Widow Mines about to hit the main base of the Protoss. Going to go through the inhibitor zone, and then it'll be straight in the main, where TeebuL does not have anything right now, as he's sending his 2 gateway units across the map.
It's a little bit greedy from TeebuL sending those units out, and he will be punished for it. I think seeing the Hellion made him think that there wasn't going to be Widow Mines this quickly, but no, this is a nice commitment.
Oh, no reaction.
No reaction.
Oh, man. I'm surprised only 7 probes died there. That second Widow Mine actually kind of doubled up on what the first Widow Mine did. Would have been nice if it got that, like, North 3 mineral patches there. That would have been some pretty sweet damage.
That is one of those things, like, you know, I watch, like, some of the guys who are so powerful and unstoppable in this matchup, like Cure right now, and I'm always impressed when a Terran like manually is like, you hit that side of the mineral line, you hit that side. And see this, they looked like they had a decent natural spread, but it turned out, I think the second one clipped 1 extra probe with the splash damage, so needed to be just a little bit further to the other side of the mineral line.
I'm surprised that Adept actually shaded there. Is at where it stood, it was actually blocking the natural. It's obviously going to die in the main base, but she's going to take some SCVs down with her. Or at least one.
I think it was only 1, luckily. She damaged a bunch of them, though, so maybe that'll come into play a bit later. Third Nexus is down for TeebuL. And I'd say, all things considered, right now, looks like a lead for Seither, because even though, you know, he's down in workers, Protoss wants to be a bit more ahead in workers than that. And you've got such good value here, because the Widow Mine drop, look at that, coming in 1 more time. I don't even think Seither needs to do damage. This is just bonus right now.
Yeah, I mean, he's already killed, like 11 probes in this game, and now it's gone up to, like, 12, 13. Like, really, really good damage from Seither. Does lose the medevac there, finally, so he's lost his presence on the other side of the Protoss, you know, on the map for the Protoss. And TeebuL, now that he's gotten rid of the medevac, is sending those Stalkers across the map to... You can't really contain the Terran at this point with 4 Stalkers or 5 Stalkers, but you can see when the third's going down and maybe catch a few units if he's going across the map.
And it looks like, I think going across the map maybe 30, 45 seconds from now is kind of got to be the play. There's a lot of bio. You've got all your upgrades starting to finish up. 3 barracks just pumping out tons of units here for Seither. And I mean, he is adding a 4th gas. He's still building SCVs. I do expect him to drop a 3rd command center on location as he moves out. But this is a giant stim timing. And I think the Raven especially is one of those key units we have to keep our eyes on, because interference matrix on some of the Immortals could be huge. And TeebuL's going really mid-game oriented with like sentries, stalkers, zealots, charge, immortals. No forges at all, like just lots of production. So TeebuL, I think, recognizing that he had a bit of a rough start, he's massively committing to a huge army here in the mid stage, just hoping that he can hold off this big push of Seither.
Well, Seither is beginning the assault, and this is one of the reasons why Seither likes this map, is it really is not very long from A to B here when you use that south position and avoid the inhibitor zones. And just small pockets of units being stemmed. He's not stemming the whole thing here. Just trying to save as many hit points as possible. TeebuL trying to slow down Seither for as long as possible, but only with 4 Stalkers. And he's going to lose one of them, actually, on the retreat there. Charge is going to be done, but does he have enough army to get this cleaned up? That tank is in a very annoying spot for TeebuL.
Widow Mines are starting to get in here as well. Auto turret's a bit early, a bit too quick on the trigger for that, but hey, he actually baits him into the fight. TeebuL cannot engage into that. Yeah. The Widow Mines have fired. The siege tank is getting a lot of damage. There's not much bio left.
Yeah, not much bio left, and maybe another round of charge lots can finally seal this defense here for TeebuL. But yeah, like he just kept engaging in front of those auto turrets, and I was like, oh, no, TeebuL, watch out, watch out. But yeah, he lost a lot. Seither does get deflected of that push, and it looks like TeebuL actually feels like he's got enough to maybe answer here and punish that low ground third. I don't know if I agree with that.
It's dangerous, yeah. Loses a few extra zealots there. Does start a Templar Archives behind it. I think TeebuL realizes he needs to go to the next step. He is up on 57 workers, so he's got an economy advantage, but the upgrade advantage is here for Seither, and it's still a very scrappy tug-of-war. If that tank can get anchored again in range of the ramp, it would be huge. Auto turret goes down, expecting TeebuL to jump on him. Doesn't happen just yet.
Seither really wants to get rid of these Immortals here, and obviously getting into that Zealot count with the Widow Mine would be fantastic as well. One Marauder caught on the outside there. The Sentry Force Field's coming in to try and make things a little bit easier for Seither, for TeebuL rather, but they kind of stop the Zealots from getting right into that front line as well in a weird way. So Seither is focused on the attack. Does that mean he's not noticing that his main's going to be hit by this prism? As this main is so, I guess, wide that you are going to have part of it out of vision.
TeebuL's under a lot of pressure though, so even warping in a single Zealot on the other side of the map is incredibly risky. He does go for 4 Zealots into the middle line of Seither, desperately looking to pull the Terran's attention away from the front. TeebuL is going to get a lot of damage done in there. Already 7 SCVs going down. I mean, what, a couple of Marauders and Marines, but the Widow Mines aren't going to take care of those Zealots on their own. This all requires more micro and attention, and this does give a little bit of breathing room for TeebuL.
Yeah, you don't have to control those Zealots. Those things are a set and forget unit. They will charge their way into your hearts. The Widow Mines actually soften up those Zealots, but the tank has been lifted up into the medevac, and that's giving TeebuL, with this immortal heavy force, a bit of an easier time at dealing with these Marauders, but there's still so many units here.
Oh, Marauders versus Immortals. They both kill each other so quickly. But Seither just has a little bit too much there, and his map pick, I mean, he has been getting so many wins on that map. He's looking really insane at PvT on Blackburn.
Yeah, I think Protoss is maybe need to start looking at banning Blackburn there and maybe less concerned about Beckett. But we're in best of 5s now, and if you don't veto Beckett, then there is a chance that it'll slip on in there, especially against the Terran. So, yeah, kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't, especially against Seither. Not every Terran's good at this map, of course, but this guy, just, you're right. I don't remember him losing on this map recently against Protosses.
Well, the Widow Mine drop went pretty all right, even though we were saying it could have done more. That was us going, oh, because TeebuL didn't notice it, and TeebuL's minimap awareness wasn't there. And remember, he'd sent his only Adept and Stalker across the map, so taking a fair bit of damage. 6 probes earlier, 7 probes on top of it with the Widow Mine drop, and then it came in and got even more afterwards. So a fantastic 3-Rex push to finish things off. The auto turrets, the tanks, everything doing really well. I do think TeebuL was a bit overeager to engage into it, as if it was like a 3 or 4 siege tank push that was going to kind of like, oh, I can't let these tanks siege on the bottom of my ramp. It was just 1 siege tank. So I think TeebuL kind of got a little bit tricked by that and engaged it as if it was like a siege army you've got to intercept before it gets set up. When in actual fact, this was more of like a short-range Widow Mine Marauder army that's just going to keep rallying and reinforcing. And it's the one where you can actually sit back and try to bait them into your shield batteries a little bit more. But we didn't see any of these fights happen in shield battery range. No battery overcharge. I do think TeebuL was a little overeager.
Yeah, definitely. Maybe just getting a little bit of that heat of the moment, just sort of jumping on it, going, oh, I've got this. And then, not being maybe a little bit more conservative than he should have been, obviously fighting at shield batteries and being a little bit more on the patient side. Patience was the word I was looking for there. Not the player, of course, but like the state of mind, the state of being patient. Yeah, fighting at shield batteries, that's the whole reason that thing exists, because without it, Protosses would be dying to 3-Rex timings every day.
Yeah, it really is the thing that can keep you alive through that kind of middle zone. I understand why TeebuL went out to fight, because remember we mentioned he wasn't really probing nonstop. There were no forges. There was no splash damage on the way. He wanted to win a fight there and kind of wipe Seither off the map. He wasn't in a position where he was trying to just hang on and survive until my storm kicks in. There was no reinforcement coming. There was no Riders of Rohan that were going to come at the 11th hour. So this man now finds himself just 1 map away from the 3-0 in the bottom right-hand side. Representing Mind Freak Esports, it's Seither.
And in the top left here, yet to win a map in the series, needs to get some damage done or he is going to be out of this season's tournament. This is Psystorm Gaming's TeebuL.
Big old map here, and time potentially to make a bit of a turnaround. TeebuL had a rough run of it yesterday. I was really actually looking forward to a potential TeebuL Mio Micah rematch tomorrow. But, he's got to win 3 games in a row just to potentially have a shot at that.
Yeah. And against someone as good as Seither, that really seems like a bit of a mountain, right? Like to win 3 games in a row against him. Oof. Seems tough.
Because Seither's very, I don't know, momentum, He's like a big old steam train. He just kind of slowly builds up speed, and I don't think he gets too shaken as much as he has, vocal thoughts about Terran versus Protoss as a matchup and how much he finds it's a struggle. But I feel like he's just very consistent with his build orders. You don't see Seither get up 2 games and then just suddenly drop the ball massively. He kind of brings a very consistent level of play. Now, that probe does hide behind the natural, which is very cute. Can come back in for a scout a little bit later on.
I've seen it in PvP, not really in TvP. The gateway is hidden up here. I think Pez actually did that against Probe in ANZ Pro League. That was on this very map.
Yeah, I guess that would have been started a lot earlier though, right? Like technically you could hide a pylon there, like a Max Pax in the natural. I think Zest did it in one series recently as well, and somehow didn't find any damage with it, even though it wasn't scouted. Like it's cool, all the different proxies, but I guess that's just to try to sneak a scout in later. He hasn't sent it in yet, and this went unscouted, so this is really annoying for TeebuL to deal with. TeebuL, where's his gateway production at right now?
There we go,
He's
Stalker.
a greedy boy. He likes to just rush that tech out and everything. He did not start a second gateway unit immediately. So yeah, TeebuL really likes to cut corners with his gateway unit production, and I mean that's part of why Seither did so much damage in that last game.
And without a shield battery here, he actually can't engage the bunker either. And I think that when the shield battery is done, it might just be slightly out of range of the units being in range of the bunker. So it's yeah, it's annoying for sure. This kind of upsets the flow of your early game mining with the probes. Actually, the probes are a little bit misrallied as well. I see 2 probes idle here.
Yeah. You know, it's kind of funny because this is not actually in range of a good section of the mineral line, so some of the probes were able to still get down there pretty early. But gets in. Oh, he sees the DT shrine. Oh, TeebuL. Oh, TeebuL's got to be so upset. Do you cancel it? Do you just keep it for later? Is he going to try and do like an SOS style, Blink DT style maybe, where you just kind of chill on the Blink DT tech and you just wait until the opportunities are kind of open to you? Because it getting scouted, this is a huge advantage for Seither, who just has a no-brainer path here to say, make a Raven, make Bio. Don't take any damage. We're in a good spot.
And the thing is, even if he doesn't use the Dark Shrine, having that Raven is fantastic in this matchup anyway. Tech Lab's right there to switch it, and there we go. Raven on the way. And even the Hellion going to confirm the Dark Shrine. He's going to confirm it.
Yeah, and he also denied the probe that was trying to take the third, because he's like, okay, well, if you're not going to use the DT Shrine, you might go for a quick third. So he killed the probe that was going for the third, sees the DT Shrine is still at 90% complete. I don't think there's necessarily you have to cancel it. I mean, TeebuL does it 99%. You can just keep it and not throw DTs in, right? There's a...
Well, you went a little bit Robo-Pig there. I'm not sure if the Robo-Pig's going out on the broadcast, but I'm getting a little bit of my end, so hopefully that irons out. But as I mentioned before, I do like the Raven here in the early game for Terran, regardless of what we're seeing from the Protoss. Obviously, if it's a charge on, maybe not, but it is so useful against everything else from like the mid-game, early game onwards. We do have, of course, the round out of the bio production here for Seither, which means that even as TeebuL gets closer and closer to those robo units, to those gateway units, Seither is still going to have a pretty good fighting force and doesn't really need to cut corners at all on his end of the map, with TeebuL being the one that cutting corners and not really getting rewarded for it in the end.
Yeah, absolutely. It's definitely kind of just fleshing out now as a game, as the second barracks lands there on the tech lab for Seither. And he's going to be building into that 3-racks situation again now. There is a real obsession with charge here for TeebuL without any sort of anchor behind it, right? It's just blink charge, and that style, it can work, but especially without Double Forge, it's a tough transition to make. So I do like that he's putting a Robo Bay down and going towards Colossi, as I think you can buy a lot of time with Zealot run-bys and backstabs and just a little bit of Zealot charge early. But it very quickly, as we saw in those last few games, gets stale as the Bioforce just grows too big and powerful.
We do have the Prison coming in for TeebuL and also Robo Bay here, as he intends to go on a tier 3 Robo, whether it be Disruptor or Colossus. Well, I can't be too sure, but I'm kind of guessing Colossus here. It's based on the upgrades, but Seither is just really taking his time with taking that third base. He's got plenty of production here on 2. And with the upgrades finishing up, Stim, Combat Shield +1, no reason for Seither not to go across the map and try and get something done.
Gonna start moving out now. Now there's no siege tanks or long range units to anchor it this time, but it's such a big number of units. Combat shields will kick in a moment. Gonna go for a third command center on location, or usually after this sort of push, but the adapter's there ready for it to block it, so that's kind of nice. Command center actually goes down on the high ground, so that's a good choice there for Seither. As he moves forward, the Colossus is on the way, but it's a while till it's out. What do we actually have at this base? It seems like such a small set of units for TeebuL.
I really don't know how he holds his push pick, because not only is there a big army supply advantage for Seither, it's also an upgrade advantage. or rather not an upgrade advantage, but without armor, the Zealots against +1 attack, no Colossi. I don't see how you hold this. Even if you had a Colossi as a Raven here, it just uses all of its energy for auto turrets, and the Widow Mines here really zoning back those charge lots. Seither could dive that natural and cause complete mayhem here.
I've got to be a little critical of how early those auto turrets go out. Again, I understand they take a while to go down, but this is still looking good for Seither nonetheless. The Colossus is here. Immortal's there as well. There's a shield battery back there. And TeebuL's actually doing a pretty damn good job of this. I think he's dismantled this push quite well. Sets off a few of those Widow Mines. Does take a few of those units on the right. Even more of these Widow Mines get a fire on the Stalkers. But at the end of the day, TeebuL defends his 3 bases. 60 probes, first 52. Second Colossus on the way. And he's going to start doing some Zealot counters. He even gets some medevac on the way out. So that was, yeah, I think TeebuL did quite well with holding that push. Seither, though, definitely dilly-dally. He stimmed from really far out to try to catch him out of position, and he didn't do much with it. So he was eating double stims and then triple stims during that fight without getting into the economy. I actually think your idea may have been a better one. Just shove into the natural and force TeebuL to headbutt into you.
Well, I mean, if you've got those auto turrets set up and the Widow Mines on it, it's just like, yeah, you're going to have to come through this, you know, minefield, literally and figuratively, to try and get to my bio, which is going to be in the natural shredding probes. At least it seems like that on paper. The Prism attack in the main base does force Seither to split his attention here and also delays the third base a little bit, but kind of inconsequential. Seither is going to still get that base and is going to continue macroing up. The Dark Shrine got remade here from TeebuL. He's remaking it, so the Invisible Man will see its day in court.
Solid 70 probe economy right now for TeebuL. Starting to set up little bits of map control. He had such a scrappy early game. Even though TeebuL's in the lead significantly in terms of supply right now, you can see he's having to use like small little units and pylons and stuff. But because he doesn't have many observers out, his Robo's busy building Colossi. He's going to try and take a front fourth Nexus. Will he spot the Doom drop in the north of the map? I think he's going to, not with that one, but with the next pylon. At the same time, TeebuL's pushing through the south. Might be wise just to recall and defend this.
Yeah, maybe. It depends on where TeebuL's head's at. Okay, Seither's going to unload here, which gives him a bit more time and also an immediate fighting force at that third Nexus. But, Vikings just caught the edge of that ball of units. Confirms that there is actually a huge army here, relatively speaking, of TeebuL.
Yeah, those Vikings are going to just walk back through those Stalkers, unfortunately, and get themselves taken out. But you know what? He at least knows about the army being there. Seither's going to do a huge counterattack. Oh, he's going to lift that command center and get it out of there. Both players going to trade third bases, Maynard.
Yeah, that third is going to take a ton of pepper here from these Stalkers and from the Sentry Tickle Beams. Might even go down. The third of TeebuL absolutely going down. He gets that pick off there. DTs in the main. Scan from Seither, though, and none of the DTs pull back from the scan, so they are all going to go down from one scan. That is value for the Terran.
Whoa, he wants to recall. Does he not have energy? His army's clumped. He doesn't have energy
on the main.
Oh,
the Disruptor's picked off. The upgrades slow down as well as the Forge gets depowered. Important technology here in the main base of TeebuL being taken out of commission for now. Oh, Blink Stalkers in the main base, though, starting to clean this up.
Nice evac from Seither to save some of those units. Remember, he's back to 2 command centers up against a Protoss who's still on 3. 61 SCVs, but nowhere for them to mine. Seither needs to immediately rebuild a command center if he wants to continue this game. He's starting a Ghost Academy right now. I mean, that's a little wild. I get Ghosts will be kind of detection for him, but Seither needs command centers right now if he wants to play a longer game, or he needs to grab everything and push across the map with a counter attack. I don't think Seither can dilly-dally because TeebuL's rebuilding his 4th. He's got 3 mineral lines up. TeebuL's army is going to catch up with him if he gives him any time.
I think Seither might be going for one last hurrah here. As he's kind of, you know, he's cut workers. He's not getting any more upgrades other than +2 attack. I think he's going to try and hit with this. He might as well grab the boys. There is not a plan B for Seither if this attack does not go well.
Yeah, most of those boys don't have anywhere to mine from anyway, but hey, they can actually be fodder to defend the Zealot counterattack, so that's something. He doesn't have too many Vikings, and there are Colossi, and as shield batteries finish on this 4th base, I don't think TeebuL can be broken. We'll have to see, of course, 2-1 upgrades, +1 on the Vikings as well. Great upgrades for Seither here. And the double drop in the back's nice, but he doesn't have a lot of scans.
Yeah, 2 command centers, 2 orbitals, and not that many scans, as he is trying to mule as well. Seither is unloaded here at the 4th Nexus. Also, this little high ground force that was in the main base being deflected by the DT is kind of turning the 3rd Nexus into a bit of a ghost town, as TeebuL's trying to retake that territory.
Seither's army is gigantic right now. The Colossi in the front. Where's the battery overcharge?
No. Disruptor Nova coming in. Actually, a really good connection on that Disruptor. The Vikings definitely doing an all right job there against those Colossi. The Gateway Force quite large, taking a little bit of damage from those Widow Mines. I think with another Warp in, TeebuL should be able to hold on.
Yeah, TeebuL ends surviving with 2 Colossi strong.
Gee.
Ooh, very nice comeback. You know, there for TeebuL. He was once again in a dicey situation, though. Barely escapes death and resurrects himself. You could see him sipping his drink, kind of shaking his head, going, "Oh, I'm technically alive, but that was damn dicey."
Well, he picked his nose after game 2, so I like the drink a lot more as getting yourself prepared for the next game. So he stays alive, like you mentioned. We're going to get a game 4 here, which is fantastic. The long road to redemption here for TeebuL. He's going to have to win the next 2 games in a row if he wants to make it to the next round of the losers bracket and eliminate Seither here from the round of 4. This initial attack, honestly, it could have won the game for Seither. The tools were here, the advantages were here, the Widow Mines as well as the Raven were here, but just being a little impatient or a little bit sort of, devil may care with that Raven kind of cost him a really huge bucket of damage here.
And this is the thing, is this sort of army, we talked about it on Blackburn, how there's no tanks. The Protoss can force field, he can dance back and forth without the big long range of the tanks punishing him for that. Sentries, Stalkers, and Immortals are so good in that sort of fight. So, it was a different sort of fight, and the way you counteract that, if you're not using a tank army, is you use your mobility. And you even called it, you run past, you do a drop in the back, you drop 2 sides or attack 2 different angles. You have to make it a little bit scrappier, because in a one-directional fight where the Protoss can force field you off and then back off when they need to, run forward, pull back to the shield batteries, we saw just how well that sort of long-range force field focused army does against what is basically just bio with a few Widow Mines supporting it.
Yeah, which can work up to a point, but once you have a little bit more technology as the Protoss, especially tier 3 robo units, they really sort of, don't have a ton of use case for you. You kind of got they're there for zealots and they're there for probes, and that's basically it. So there we go. I'm looking forward to game 2, rather game 4, but we're going to have to take a short break before we get there, guys. So just take it easy, take a breather, let the heart rate drop a little bit to get it built right back up for game 4. We'll see you after the break. G'day, StarCraft fans. Hope you guys are enjoying your day so far, or evening if you're from our side of the pond. I am Maynard, with me is Pig. And speaking of this side of the pond, you are watching the Oceanic Rest of Asia Masters event here for the DreamHack Fall Edition. It is, of course, mid-series here between Seither and TeebuL, our losers bracket match. Winner of the series moves on and gets to have another crack at it in another best of 5. The loser of the series, unfortunately, will have to try again in winter.
Or I guess it'll be probably spring or summer for us, technically. But yeah.
Yeah, that's the season where everyone's like, you know, aren't you cold? And because you're wearing just like a t-shirt and shorts, and they don't realize that hemispheres exist.
Yes, yeah. At the moment, it's you know, oh, it gets cold in Australia. Wait, what's a hemisphere? So if the piece of paper is flat, like why is it colder on one side than the other, Maynard?
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't it be a hard cutoff as well if we're on like a giant disc? You know what I mean? Because it would be either have sun or not have sun. There wouldn't be like a halfway point.
Yeah, I'm not sure. There must be something to do with like the updraft of like as the tortoise is swimming through space, it creates some sort of like solar winds or something like that. I'm not really sure of the science. I'm not too good at it, to be honest.
Yeah, it's honestly, I haven't read Discworld since I was in high school, so I've forgotten about like how the world works and the scientific facts about, you know, how our planet disk is working in the vast void of space. But no.
Well, you know who isn't puzzled by that? The great Protoss overlord TeebuL, who is starting the comeback now. You know, he had a couple of dirty Terran wins there come in early on in the series, but barely survived that last game. And I think it's time for TeebuL to really just polish off his builds a little bit. He's really got to, I think, step up, because once again, dude, that was dangerous territory, and he's been doing some really it's just kind of falling behind in the early stages. This guy's been too tight, too on point. His early game's been great. Let's see if he can close the series out now. It is Seither. Reppin' Mind Freak.
One map from victory. This guy's got some more work to do in the top left. Represented by Storm Gaming, this is TeebuL. Work.
Yes, me lord.
Righto. Off I go then. Oh, don't get me started. I'll be peon and peasanting all day.
Sorry, wrong game.
wrong game. But I do hear that there is a new edition of that game coming out soon.
Indeed. We'll see. Hopefully more fun RTS esports coming out in the future, but we'll see how we go with it. I am always keeping my expectations low in the gaming world. That way I get to be pleasantly surprised. That's my tactic personally. SCV Scout's going to come over, so it's just kind of a pretty standard build order from Seither. No shenanigans, no proxy barracks. This is definitely the sort of thing that more often leads into a 3 racks for him, and I think that's what I'd be expecting, because it's pretty powerful for this map. No ramp on the natural, wide open area between the natural and the third. Big ramps only, and they're way out front, the actual bases. So TeebuL is building a Zealot, interestingly enough, and it looks like some sort of proxy, but it doesn't really look like proxy Void Ray with where that is.
Yeah, it's a bit of an odd spot. That's the kind of one where you hide usually a gateway, I would say, but even then, that's a little strange because of how far removed it is.
He's a little slow to put the buildings down on it, though, assuming he is going for said buildings. Now, there have been a lot of fake one-base builds recently in this matchup from Protoss players, and this might just be that. Zealot into a depth pressure. I mean, he's got so many resources, does TeebuL. What's he doing with his resources?
He might be just saving it to be like, okay, I want to know what to do with them, so I'm going to float a little bit here before I pull the trigger on what I'm going to buy.
No, that's bad StarCraft, Maynard. I gotta be super critical of that. That's bad StarCraft. That is not efficient at all. And he's trying to give off the illusion of a one base all in here and get a big overreaction. But look at how many minerals he has. I mean, this is almost 3-minute Nexus. TeebuL's builds are not looking like the TeebuL from even earlier this week. I feel like yesterday as well, he was a little bit off. And today, I'm going to be critical. I think he's a little bit shook. This is an insane mind game. Like, he is like, well, I'm going to make you think I'm doing a one base. But his expansion's so late, this essentially is a one base play. It's bizarre.
He is getting that reaction from Seither, but the thing is, with a Terran reaction, your CC on the high ground and your bunker can be salvaged. It's not that bad. Like, it's not... It's costing the Terrans some resources, but it's not crippling them.
No. And Seither's doing a great job of scouting. Now, he lost an SCV, but he snuck another one out. He should be able to get in and see the Nexus and just go, oh, okay. All right, you're just doing it weird. And you'll see even lots of big probe transfer. That's huge. So Seither seeing that huge probe transfer, it really tells them, okay, you were just trying to trick me out here, over probing one base, taking a Nexus a little late. I mean, that's the part that kind of justifies this sort of mind game, is that, like, you so quickly saturate it once it's ready because you've just been probing the whole time nonstop. That's kind of what you've been spending your money on. So, I mean, there's an argument for this. Has it worked out? Has it paid off? So far, Seither doesn't really have any aggressive tools. Starts a medevac, cancels it, builds a Raven. There is a bit of indecisiveness for Seither, so you could argue that this has worked out okay for TeebuL.
Mm-hmm. This little early game army of Seither, though, is not too shabby against those gateway armies. When you only got 2 or 3 gateway units, the Cyclone and a Ball of Marines is all you need. Yeah,
the Adept does complete its shade. A Stalker's going to, barely get out of there. Cyclone goes back to clean up the Adept. And Seither is handling this okay. Extra barracks on the way. Tank coming in as well. And actually, the Adept gets out and the Stalkers. Wow, okay, you know what? I'm here ragging on TeebuL at the start of this game. But it looks like the things are starting to go his way. The Adepts and the Stalkers all alive. Blink finishing up. Blink Stalker's great against this army. It's going to be a while till Stim or anything like that is out. And TeebuL, you know, he's on 40 probes. He's up 6 workers, which is it's acceptable. It's not a great lead by any means, especially with no third started, but it's a playable situation for sure.
Most certainly. Well, he's going to have an army be able to handle at least the early stages here from the Terran. And it's going to take a third base. All right, TeebuL just macroing up here. I'm going to use that cluster of Stalkers to just slow the Terran down, maybe pick off some free units. And with Blink, if he's got the high ground vision, which he's about to have with that Observer, he can be annoying as well. Not any Terran structures at the edge of the main, though. So he has to go deep if he wants to get much damage done in the main. Oop.
Ooh, good save for Seither. Very important that he keeps that Raven alive. Starts touching it up with the SCV. It could easily be lost in this next blink-in. Extra tank is out, though. If it just sieges up right where it is, it covers most of the blink-in area.
And it does move a couple pixels over and then sieges up. This isn't really a breakable bit of setup here for the Terran. That Raven, so it's flirting with the edge of the main base, the edge of the safe zone here. But yet to be picked off by TeebuL, who is going to try and blink in the main, but there is a tank here.
Yeah, there's no real progression here for TeebuL's army either. So TeebuL, I mean, like quickly, I mean, no forge. He's getting charged. He's going for Colossus, but they won't be out for such a long time that I think we're going to have Seither pushing into once again. Maybe one Colossus popping during the push, but it won't have range or anything like that. It's going to be a medium number of Stalkers, a couple of Sentries, a couple of Mortals, a couple of Zealots. I think the numbers are once again going to look really good for Seither. So yet another early game where TeebuL finds himself at the entrance to the mid game, just down on numbers. He's got great production as he always does, but he doesn't really have the money or the upgrades to make it look that powerful. That's me saying it's not a great position, but you know what? He's good with force fields. Stalkers are a very microable unit. Don't count him out yet. It's just going to be really impressive if he pulls this together.
Yeah, I agree with you. The push here of Seither looks like very, very powerful on paper. TeebuL gonna lose one Stalker there as he blinks out of harm's way. And the push is beginning here. Seither's got multiple medevacs. He's got a full energy Raven almost here with multiple tanks as well. Very scary push from the Terran.
Stalker's just picking away a few units, doing a pretty good job so far. The shields upgrade is so late for Seither. So these Marines are so fragile. Tank's going to siege up in the mid-ground. I think that's a good idea. I don't think Seither needs to rush right now. I actually think Seither can afford to take his time because his production is very, very good. Both sides are kind of neck and neck. I mean, there's an upgrade lead for Seither. That's going to be closed in a moment. Colossus range is on the way. TeebuL does not have a second Colossus on the way. So he's actually going 2 more gateways. He's just going to try and, I think, get a ton of Zealots and look for the overwhelm on this army.
I really prefer that extra Colossus, but I kind of get it. I mean, the Raven kind of negates the Colossi, right? So might as well just have the extra gateway army, the extra meat of the Zealots in your army. Does, sort of negate the tank problem.
Oh, see this trying to find this angle. He hasn't found it just yet, but he's got so much production behind this. 3 Marauders, 4 Marines building at a time. The Bio going to take out a few more Stalkers there. TeebuL, he's got a few Zealots ready to do a run by, but oh, that's a dangerous ramp to get caught on. That being said, Seither can't force his way out. That Zealot run by needs to go in now. He's got to do something to buy himself a bit of time. Second Colossus is on the way, so TeebuL is doing a great job of buying a bit of extra time. And remember that Seither is on 2 base. This is an all-in.
Yeah, very, very committed here. Vikings being produced as well to handle the Colossi. In comes TeebuL Zealots. Finally, they find the natural. The drop on the main kind of forcing this awkward situation for TeebuL where he has to come up to handle it, but that's when he's in range of the tank, and the Ravens here just in case those Colossi start to close in as well. Warp in his Zealots, but then Seither's like, oh, dive, dive, dive. That natural's open. Let's go.
Oh, I wouldn't mind him going to the 3rd with that Bio, actually. The Colossus still has range advantage over him, and that's why he's got to... Oh, friendly fire, Widow Mine. Bad Widow Mine.
Sometimes the Widow Mine is the best Protoss unit. Sometimes.
I think the other ones will more often than not make up for it, though. That's the thing with the Widow Mine. One bad one, you'll get a few good ones to follow it. The tanks, there we go. That's a very important shuffle. That's going to punish TeebuL whenever he comes forward. Seither's army is gigantic. But +1 attacks almost here. It's not there just yet. The Widow Mine's not really getting big hits. One big one on the Zealots as they retreat was nice. Interference Matrix makes him pull back. The Zealots trying to take out the rally, but they're not able to overwhelm it. Seither just has too much bio. Oh, the Zealot flank on the tanks is very nice, though. One tank goes down, the other survives.
Yeah, getting that tank is, half of the work done there on that back line, but there is still a lot of bio, and now there's Vikings as well, so the tanks normally here to handle the Colossi don't really need to be here anymore as the Vikings are kind of taking that role from them. The Marauder count's still quite high. Disruptor from downtown.
Oh!
A Nova really in the middle of the pack there, but the Colossi are getting thinned out. This is a bloodbath. It looks like TeebuL is going to hold, though.
TeebuL holds, yeah, he absolutely does. That Disruptor coming in. I mean, the Colossi all go down. A few medevacs might get out of here. Seither still has great unit production, so I don't think it's over. But you know what? Even though he killed some probes, TeebuL still got the economy advantage. He's got a lot of Stalkers. He's hunting these units down. He's a bit afraid to blink after that because he knows there's a lot more bio coming out right now for Seither. TeebuL's got to be careful.
Yeah, wouldn't want to overextend here. The Stalkers are quite expensive, and Seither takes them down for free. We do have +2 attack here on the way from TeebuL. Now, that was a really committed assault from Seither, obviously. We mentioned that before. He's got a lot of production here. So, yes, I was going to say, he has to just grab everything and go because there is not a longer game in this for Seither. The longer this game goes, the easier it is for TeebuL to win.
Absolutely. Zealot run by seems like a good idea to force him all in, but he's already pulled most of the boys. So, as long as Seither doesn't let those Zealots on his production, he should be okay. He's got a big army pushing forward. Archons are being warped in, though. Archons are so good in this situation. He's got 1 Colossi out. Yeah, add shield batteries to that and Archons. I don't know if there's any shield batteries finished on that 3rd base, though, right now. I don't know if he's got anything to fall back into. He doesn't. The Zealot Archon needs to clear these SCVs. Colossi looking very exposed. If he can buy time, that's really good for TeebuL, but Seither's not going to give him that moment. He forces in. He's going to go and take out the Robo and the Immortal as it pops a few of these units, but his stim has already run out. And Seither, his units are quite weak. There's no medevac healing, Maynard.
Yeah, the medevacs are low on energy, and the Viking count not super convincing. He's just going to try and dive into the main base and win the fight right here, but does he have enough? Zealot's coming in for the north side. Blink into the main, and the Archon's really softening up that bio ball. Probes even getting pulled, and TeebuL can spare a few. He actually holds pretty handily there, and we're going to game 5.
Ooh, I did not think this was going to be happening. I mean, I was ragging on TeebuL's opening a little bit there because it was so wild to see someone delay their Nexus to like 600, 700 minerals, 3-minute Nexus. But you know what? He got the reaction out of Seither. He kept him guessing, and he really fantastically staved off that push and bought himself a lot of time.
Oh, man, what a... I mean, this was an action-packed game, to be sure. A very awkward start for TeebuL. But he managed to turn this game into a pretty huge win there in the end, managing to trade well against Seither and also catch Seither in between his attacks. Also, these Zealots coming from the back line, getting rid of a few of those tanks. Not this initial attack, but the one later when those tanks were in range of the natural, the Widow Mines were shuffled forward a little bit more. That's when TeebuL got rid of the really scary part of this army and managed to just hold on. The Disruptor, incredibly clutch here from the natural.
Yeah. You know, it didn't actually connect.
It did not? It died. Yeah, no, you're right.
It died as it went off. I did not realize that until just... Because I remember being like... I was kind of confused, but it was just the bio was chasing the Colossi, and there was so much damage from everything else. But it was like, yeah, the Disruptor was there. It was a problem. The Colossi, the units... I think the recall to reposition earlier as well, down to the third from TeebuL. He recalled like from the main natural to the third when Seither ran down there was really cool. Happened off camera. Really well done. I kind of look at this and I go, I mean, did Seither just need to force the fight earlier? Did he take a bit too long? It's an interesting scenario because he's doing the 2-tank push where he's got this long-range anchor with the tanks, which is very good versus the Colossi. At the same time, he's got so many Widow Mines, he kind of can't take too long with that push. And ideally, rather than picking up and going, oh, I'm dropping the high ground, but my tanks are covering me, he doesn't have 5 siege tanks, it's 2 siege tanks. I think there's an argument that Seither's reinforced should be picking up at home, boosting straight into the edge of the main, into, you know, the behind the third base, and splitting him that way, because it's not about, well, obviously he can recall, he can blink Stalkers over there, but if you can spread his army out, so you're fighting 1 Colossi and a few Stalkers with 2 medevacs worth of bio, you're going to take a good trade there. It's whenever the Zealots are in front, the Stalkers, the Colossi, the Guardian Shield, they can just fight for days. They could pull back to the batteries whenever they need to. And that's what TeebuL did a really good job of. So Seither wasn't able to escalate it and make it an urgent enough situation to the point where he was able to pick off, oh, a lone Colossus popping out of the Robo, kill it quickly. Oh, Stalkers blinked in and my bio killed 6 or 7 Stalkers. He was only really picking off small numbers of Zealots, the very cheap units, for a long time. And we saw TeebuL just grow a little bit too strong.
Yeah, and then you managed to just steamroll in the end there. We actually are kind of having a potential reversal of history here, where last season, TeebuL was up 2-0 and then Seither reverse swept. And this is kind of happening again, but with different people in different chairs. So, yeah, kind of weird in that regard. Of course, we don't want to call it until the fat lady sings, of course. TeebuL could potentially lose Game 5, ruining this entire storyline that I'm painting for you guys. But, I mean, if he wins Game 5, that's going to be quite interesting as far as this rivalry goes. They're 50-50. Like, it is a very close neck-and-neck rivalry between the two of them, even though it's a very short-lived one. It's not like Seither Probe, but Seither TeebuL is still shaking up to be quite interesting.
Indeed, indeed. It's actually kind of cool to see TeebuL fight back from behind. I still didn't really like his position going into the mid-game at all, and I think that's been a pattern of the series. But that makes me worry for Seither. If TeebuL gets off a good opening in this game and gets even a small lead, I worry about what he can do, because he is clawing his way back in this series. The momentum has shifted and the Psystorm is coming for victory. In the bottom left in the blue, it's TeebuL.
Up here in the top right, winning the first 2 games, losing the last 2 games. Can he win Game 5, though? The one that really matters. This guy from Mindfreak, the Red Terran, it's Seither.
It's going to be a pretty standard-looking opening for Seither so far. Was expecting a return to the 3 racks, you know, at some point here.
Yeah.
So we'll keep our eyes for that. He's done it a few times on this map in the past.
Speaking of builds, we have seen a pretty varied selection from, I'd say, specifically TeebuL. It's been a little bit different pretty much from game to game to game here. He's not doing, I don't think he's repeated one particular build yet.
Yeah, I would say I think he applies that as a general philosophy, is stay unpredictable. I mean, that's like that last opening from him. As much as I was kind of saying I don't really like it, I think it's just too inefficient to have that much money sitting around. I'd rather you do the same thing and have a corner base. Like, as silly as, like, people laugh at me and be like, well, that's silly. And I'm like, I don't know, man. I think 800, 700 minerals in the bank on 25 probes is silly. But the whole point there is we could debate that all day, and I'd love to chat to TeebuL about it later. Hopefully I get a chance to. But the point is, he said, hey, I'm going to make this look really ambiguous. And even against Mio yesterday, that's what he was doing in his PVZs. He was like, I'm going to open Stalker every game, whether I'm going Stargate or not. And you're going to, like, not know, am I going Robo? Am I going Stargate? Always changing it up, but he never gave any information to Mio Micah. Often started Warp Gate as well, even if he was going for an Oracle first.
Yeah, he really likes to hide what he's doing from his opponent. Whereas, there's a lot of players that don't really care about whether or not you have the information. They're just going to be unpredictable with what they have, or just be good enough to win anyway. And it is going to be a 3 racks here from Seither. So obviously with the reacted barracks, going into the 2 extra barracks here, foregoing the factory for now. So you get the factory like 50-ish supply here with a 3 racks usually, so quite a bit later.
Yeah. I think this is going to be, yeah, once again, another skip on the bunker. I think this is a good idea as well, knowing you should have the ping advantage here. It's not like on a map with a ramp that Seither's going to be like, oh, I'm so worried if he comes across with 2 adepts and a stalker and picks away at my marines using the shade for high ground vision. That's really multitasking heavy and mechanical heavy. And even that's a mistake there from TeebuL. Accidentally lets the shade finish. He's going to lose his adept for that. Now, does he see the barracks, actually? Because he has long vision. I think if he hugged the depot, he would have, but I don't think he moved right up to the depot. Oh, he did.
Seeing the second. Okay, well, you only really need to see the second barracks to kind of get wind of what's happening. You know, as a Protoss, you know that there's going to be some kind of marine timing. Whether even 2 racks means that. It could be a 2-1-1, and you know, more often than not, is going to be the 3 racks. It's quite popular in the matchup. TeebuL already has the Dark Shrine, multiple gateways, which Seither has not seen, by the way, and a prism. So it looks like TeebuL is doing one of the strongest things, honestly, you can do against the 3 racks, because you're muling pretty hard. This is a pretty crisp timing. The DT's nice and early here on 2 Nexus.
Yeah, the only way this goes really bad is if the Marines are moving out and they happen to run into the warp prism and you kill it on the way across the map. And the engineering bay is on the way. This is going to be really tough. If he builds a turret blindly on the natural, that would be good. But see that? I mean, he didn't do any of these extra safety precautions. Like, when you're doing this sort of build, I love it when a Terran player hides an SCV and tries to mineral walk it in or something. Because I think even seeing that the firm natural wall off would be a bit of an indicator. Turret goes down in the natural, which is actually very helpful. But the DTs are about to warp into that main base. He was slightly supply blocked, so the DT's delayed a few seconds, but that might actually work in his favor. That's going to give the bio time to get halfway across the map. Oh, this is such a crisp DT rush, Maynard. It's going to be so hard for him to deal with.
This is super rough to see there. Obviously, the natural has that turret, so we can get rid of the DT down here, but there's only 1 scan remaining, and he needs to get some cash money out of that scan. There it is, the one in the main. The SCV is actually coming in to help as well, but there is a 3rd DT on the refinery on the right-hand side, so the main is not cleared up just yet. Also, DTs could be used at home. In fact, they are being warped in right now to defend the push from Seither.
Oh, this is so rough. He's going to take down the pylon, does use 1 scan. Okay, and if he can depower some of this production, that would help as well. DT is going to be... Oh, it's a Zealot, actually, that warped in there, because TeebuL's out of gas right now. Only 1 DT working on this. Limited damage output available to him.
Yeah, 1 DT, not too great here for TeebuL, so Seither's going to take a lot of probes down before his army gets cleaned up. Big damage here from both players.
Seither's got to kill more, though. This is usually advantageous to the Protoss for that DT tech left.
Oh, goodbye, Prism.
There's no mining in the main right now for Seither, but oh, getting that DT is huge, Maynard.
Yes, and the Prism as well. So while TeebuL is left here in the natural, he's only got probes because he's had his production depowered. Oh. These units are all so deep in the red, but they're still shredding that probe line.
Oh my gosh, what an absolute poop shoot this game has turned into. This is crazy. Oh man, Lord, 31 probes to 27 SCVs. He's trying to creep turrets up into the main base because that DT is still in there. It's killed both of the tech labs on his barracks. Luckily, his Stim and Shields did finish before that happened. This DT is just being super annoying. He's finally going to scan that and take that out. Is Seither. And my instinct says the guy with the orbital command centers is winning here. But
yes.
Probably right, but still, it's an 8-worker advantage. So I think, honestly, Seither can't really do much for a long time here. I think TeebuL needs to go straight to a 3rd base, and just probe really hard. He doesn't really have many minerals to work with. He's adding a gateway, probes, DT, Blink, going to be the comeback mechanic he's looking for. But I think if TeebuL doesn't go for a 3rd base pretty quickly, I don't really know how he's going to deal with the giant bio army, which, oh, his DT just missed the move out.
Yeah, he just missed that move out of bio, and Seither is not going to be rallying everything across the map here. He knows that the DT is still a large and present threat here on this game, so he's... Oh, that DT sees the move out. That DT saw the move out.
He didn't pull it back straight away. A little bit of a slow reaction there from TeebuL. The bio is going to run home. 1 Marine does go down. So, you know what? Not having any scans saved, I think, for Seither. Maybe... Oh, he's going to scan there. That DT, though, waiting for him, ambushing him.
Dark Templar are a fun and interactive unit.
Yeah, this is actually the... in Star Wars, when they get in the garbage compactor thing, it was actually just an invisible man under the filth.
Yep.
He was just slowly trying to tear them under one at a time. Yeah, it's pretty creepy, it's pretty gross, but in the end, I mean, I actually really like the way TeebuL's bouncing back. Look at the economy. Robo
Yeah.
Bay. He's going to go Colossi. I actually wouldn't mind Disruptors, potentially, because I think this is going to be such a scrappy sort of game. That being said, Seither's army is super sick, and TeebuL's army is, I have a few DTs on the map and nothing else right now. Please give me another minute of peace and calm.
I don't think Seither's going to award him that luxury. He sends 2 Medivacs full of units over to the left side of the map here to intercept. And maybe potentially just dumps to the main base of TeebuL. Seems to be the plan here. TeebuL moving out to try and position himself to that third base. Hallucinating Phoenix heading out as well. This pylon is going to see the Medivacs. That's good news for TeebuL.
Yeah, that's very good. A couple of building pylons are a cheap cost to not lose your main base workers there. TeebuL, of course, working on a budget to get back up to the 3-base situation. And 3 racks pumping away for Seither. He's on 42 workers now. He hasn't committed to a 4th and 5th barracks yet, so we might still see that 3rd command center from Seither. But I like this kind of, you know, neither player really knows what the other is doing exactly right now. They don't have a lot of scouting information. Hallucinations trying to be used. This bio, more of a foraging squad. They're seeing what they can find out there. And he's going to try and do this sort of low-risk style. Did Blink get finished in this game? I don't think it ever got made, right?
DT Blink.
Yeah,
not Blink
the
Blink.
type that stops Medivacs.
Not normie Blink. Yeah.
Oh, this is huge. This is huge. Oh my god.
Robo Bay! Extended
Oh.
thermal lance pig. Whatever upgrade you call it on your stream, that is not PC in here for this broadcast. Oh, if only he killed that. That would have. That's such an easy pick off. I'm so triggered that Seither did not actually kill that.
Oh yeah, that's going to be a bit of a bummer. But I mean, the thing is, he got the 3rd base. That's huge. This knocks TeebuL back to 2 base. And those Medivacs on the right side threatening there, looking for any openings. He's clearing up the pylon map control. This is kind of the equivalent of killing the observers of the Protoss right now. These pylons were the only vision he had on that left side of the map. TeebuL is broke as all heck right now.
And super supply block. 3 pylons on the way here to try and deal with that, as well as a 3rd nexus, which has just barely been retaken. And meanwhile, Seither shooting further ahead in supply. He's going to... Looks like he's culminating a pretty large push up here on the left side of the map, but also has that double Medivac threat. Oh, man. This is going to be tough for TeebuL to stop in the next few minutes here. Well, next minute, I should say, not few minutes.
Well, he's got nothing to shut down the drops is the problem. His army is not bad in the frontal fight on the ground, or at least it wasn't a little earlier. I think it's getting outmatched now just by the numbers of Seither. But yeah, there's no way to blink on these drops and shut them down. There's no Phoenix to chase them. Seither is just using that lack of anti-air, realizing that the tech of the Medivacs, the Stim Bio, was his advantage. Now that DT, funnily enough, is chasing back his entire force through the middle of the map. So Seither did not save scans, I guess.
Do you think that it's stubborn at this point that Seither's not getting a Raven?
No. I think it's totally fine. I just think you've got to save scans. Because the thing is, in this scenario, it's so important to have more Medivacs and whatnot out, especially because he's dropping, right? He could easily have lost 2 drops. And then if he loses 3-4 of these Medivacs, he doesn't have enough healing. Doing the swap back and forth is really nasty. And the thing is, the DTs haven't actually been that huge in this game after the opening bit, right? Yeah, they've been annoying on the map. But as long as he saves all of his scans for a little bit before he pushes out, he should be okay with it. The problem is, I don't think he saved enough scans ahead of this push. Can we just get a quick orbital check of Seither's 2 bases, just to see the energy? Looks like almost one in the main and nothing in the natural yet. So he's been muling a little bit too hard. Giant army, not a lot of ability to deal with DTs. Luckily for him, TeebuL's broken, is only watching the right path.
And, you know, on to see this credit, obviously the Medivacs are fantastic here for that huge contingent of bio, but the Liberators are really fantastic as well. Just for the standing fighting force. Another DT goes down, but I feel like 1 DT per scan is going to be annoying considering TeebuL is going to be making more than 1 here defensively.
Yeah,
there's that 1 scan in the natural.
He needs to turn that into an orbital quick. He's going to try and build a turret, which makes perfect sense here. Seither's taken so long to get this going, though. Okay, 2 DTs with a scan is huge.
That's nice.
This is where a disruptor would be massive. This is what I mean instead of the Colossi, because you can start mixing it in, where he's slowly dealing with that, and then bam, a disruptor shot comes out. Looks for some big damage. TeebuL needs some sort of big surprise plays at this point. I don't really know exactly what it can be. These turrets, these tanks, these libs are going to creep forward. The army is just a bit too big. TeebuL is finding himself pressed between a Terran and a hard place.
DTs are at least catching some reinforcements, but I feel like these reinforcements don't even need to be there because what's already there is extremely terrifying. 4 Liberators, tanks, bunker pushing.
What can even kill those Liberators, Maynard? Archons and non-blink Stalkers? Like, it's going to be such a rough run to deal with that. Now, the bio here...
TeebuL! These turrets have been here all game!
Yeah, going to lose those DTs. He's desperate right now. He's going to lose his Robo. No disruptors for you. Oh, I think Seither, you know, it's been a long series. TeebuL's built a big army. He's got charge Archons in there. He's going to look for a flank on this force, but that's going to be through a choke point as well. I think TeebuL might have to just go for like a straight up base trade. I honestly don't know if he can clear this army, not near those bunkers and turrets anyway.
Yeah, the Zealot run by here is a little flaccid, unfortunately, does not get a whole lot done. And even TeebuL's flank attempt here, caught by Seither's Liberators, taking some damage on the Colossi before the fight even begins. This looks like a checkmate maneuver if I've ever seen one, Pig.
Yeah, that army's running around. I mean, it's made the Liberators reposition. He's thinking about breaking the rocks right now. Seither is going to start pushing forward. He's got 4 bunkers there. Multiple turrets as well means the Colossi can't move into that area. So many tanks and Liberators. As long as those Liberators are facing the right direction. I mean, there's no bio in the bunkers right now, so that is one thing that Seither's kind of, okay, got to do, and he does start taking care of it. But I think he's just realizing there's no rush. I've got rid of the natural. I've chipped away. As long as I don't die to the... Uh-oh, that's a lot of zealots.
Yeah, there's a lot of zealots, my goodness. They're going to get in the main, too. I mean, the Dark Shrine does get picked off, and there's no disruptors here. So the biggest comeback potential for any Protoss, really, is usually disruptors. It's usually Dark Shrine. Neither of those are available right now for TeebuL. So that is a plus side for Seither. Even though he is taking damage from the Zealot run by, I still really love his position.
Yeah, he's just going to lift his orbitals, bring his SCVs across the map for now. And we'll take care of that main base. Third base is still up, but there's no production over there. So there's only like one gateway able to warp in units. TeebuL, of course, is tri-blocked basically permanently at this point. So no, neither side's going to be reinforcing. It's just standing armies. We've got a 10 army supply lead for Seither. Seither's army is infinitely better when it is sieged up and facing the right direction. So the goal here for TeebuL is force him to scramble over to defend the command center. You know, burning down your last building. But Seither's a bit too smart for that. He just puts his command centers in the dead space, in the edges, hovering where they can't be reached, runs some SCVs across the map to hide them, and he's just going to have to slowly creep forward and just kind of not give any openings for TeebuL to catch him unsieged.
If TeebuL engages into this army, I'm going to ask what's in his water.
Bravery and courage, Maynard.
That's right. So don't worry about the water. Worry about my brass cojones. He's going to go for it. Oh my god.
Yep. I mean, it's not going to get any better. I mean, it's not. Oh, they couldn't get any worse. Actually, my god, that's a lot of tanks. The Liberators are facing the wrong direction, but it doesn't even matter.
It was Haluk. You went lost. He may actually be lost though. In all seriousness, TeebuL is taking so much damage here, and he's catching some reinforcement Liberators, which is great. But again, like getting the reinforcements is all well and good, but this army just does not seem killable at the moment. Seither actually is making a Raven right now, feeling like a Dark Shrine might be remade, and he is absolutely correct in that regard.
Yeah, that's one way. If your orbitals are floating, they can't be dropping scans, can they? So, oh, he's going to escape. He's running to the right side, and he's actually going to get his army out over there. Tank's a bit exposed. TeebuL's on the chase. He wants to catch him. Seither's not paying attention. A bit of disarray with Seither's army here.
He's kind of got to siege up and turn this into a fight, man. If he just keeps pulling back, TeebuL's going to get more and more of these units for free. Army supplies are very close. Good shots in a couple of those Colossi.
Yeah, Seither was in the army lead this whole time until that little runaway. So it's even now with TeebuL in technically a 2 army supply lead. He's going to rebuild a Nexus in his natural. He gets 2 more tanks back here. He's clearing all the turrets off the map. Okay, DT's just warped in, Maynard. Guess what? He kept some gateways alive in the main base. He rebuilt the DT shrine. He's losing all the depots at home in Seither. He's built a Raven with his army, but Seither has actually given up the position where he could kill all the pylons and the production. And now TeebuL, look at TeebuL's base. He's got so many pylons. He's got so much production. All this stuff stayed alive. So Seither was like, oh, I've got to stop a new base getting up. And it was a big misplay from Seither. He is now letting TeebuL reclaim all that infrastructure at home while his dies.
Oh, Seither sieging up those tanks here, trying to force a bad fight from TeebuL. Obviously, with a Raven in this force, he doesn't need to scan to kill DTs, but he is scanning to see the positioning on that Protoss army and what it looks like at the moment. He really wants TeebuL to come to him, but as long as TeebuL just doesn't give Seither what he wants, there is a world where TeebuL can win this game.
There is. It's still, of course, quite dicey for him, but he can find those command centers potentially. Cloak Banshee is trying to be built here for Seither, a great base trade unit when there's no detection or anything. But TeebuL's got a base back up, and 13 probes are about to start mining on it. That being said, the tank and Liberator is getting very close to him. It feels like he might have to fight sooner rather than later. Is it good for TeebuL maybe just to not go back up that ramp and escape to elsewhere? Because if he goes up that ramp, he can't leave.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if Seither gets that position again where he was before,
Yeah.
TeebuL is completely boxed in. There's nowhere for him to go, nowhere for him to hide. And Seither can force him into that fight that TeebuL's desperately trying to avoid.
Oh, DT is going to go down to the Raven Marauder potentially. Blink out of there, though. Nice micro from TeebuL. He's using hallucinations to track this army. It's still so even in army supplies. 14 Zealots, an Immortal, 2 Archons, 3 Colossi. They try to come forward. The tanks and the libs, though, add so much siege damage. The Stim Bio scaring it back for now.
Large anti-armor missile. And I actually kind of love these Banshees, by the way. Going for Cloaked Banshees right now. TeebuL actually doesn't have Detection Pig.
Yeah.
So Cloaked Banshees are very annoying. Even though there's only a couple of them, they're a unit that could just slowly chip away at the hit points here of TeebuL.
I mean, this game is speaking to my heart right now, because I feel like Seither has been in an almost winning position for like the last 8 minutes, but he just can't quite finish him off. TeebuL's going to try to bust down the ramp. That is a lot of Liberator tank, though, and TeebuL's army is crumbling. The anti-armor missile is having so much damage.
Oh, man. Did TeebuL kill any units there? Unfortunately for him, he does not get the fight he wanted and needed there in Game 5. And Seither